Hello everybody, this is Chris Bird or MonkeyDude1313, and this is a nearly complete master set of Gym Challenge. This binder contains almost every single unlimited and first edition card in the set, and I'm very excited to flip through it with you. Before we get into that though, I wanted to pull out some of the featured stuff. First off is this PSA label for a first edition Erica's Venusaur. We cracked it out of a 7, and so I'll get to show you that card when we get there. Second up is this Bronx Vulpix. First, seems like it's from Gym Challenge, but when you look closer, you can see that W stamp there. That meant that this card, even though it was a print of a card from this set, was obtained in a very different way. So I just wanted to show that one off real quick. I think it's a very cool card, and they did that for a lot of these older sets. And finally, since it's a set with a Charizard in it, not only do we have the Gold Fire Energy placeholders, but we're also going to need to dive into the Charizard binder in order to pull those out. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Normally we store our first editions first, because that is the print order that they were created in, but for videos I like to put the first editions behind, so we will get there in a couple of minutes. But first, let's go and pull out this Charizard at the handy dandy first edition Dragonite in French bookmark. So we open this up to the correct page, and we can take our Dragonite placeholder out, and here are the two Gym Challenge Charizards right up next to the Neo Destiny Shinings, Legendary Collections, including Deck Exclusive and Expedition. So, first up, we can take out the first edition BLAINE'S Charizard here. Absolutely beautiful card in fantastic condition. And we can take out this BLAINE'S Charizard Unlimited with a nice little swirl down there in the corner. Alright, so close this up, move that out, and we can throw in the Unlimited into this page to complete the first page of Gym Challenge. So this is what the first page looks like, and I think Blaine is the winner in my opinion, but that's just because he has the Charizard, and I'm into Charizard, but that's okay. So this set I was collecting when it first came out. I really enjoyed opening packs, but as with a lot of other old sets, I was very, very young. So at this point, I was 8 in 2000, and so my enjoyment of the set came purely from a kid's perspective, that there was no idea of value, no idea of keeping cards safe, no idea of any of that. It was cool Pokemon, big number, big energy cost, cool. That's really all that mattered in this case. And so playability did not cross my mind, really. Just if it did big numbers, it was playable. That's kind of how it worked out. So, most of the cards in this binder are not from our original collection. I do want to pull out first this Giovanni's Machamp for a little bit of a spoiler reason, which we will see a little bit later in this video, but I absolutely love the art on this Machamp. I like the in-action shot rather than most Machamps where he's just kind of posing. I think that's very cool. And similarly, I want to pull out the Giovanni's Persian to show off this fantastic swirl right there next to it. That Persian looks incredible. Absolutely love it. So, in this set, what was interesting is that they used Giovanni rather than rockets. So actually they used both, but since they were based on the gym leaders, even though Giovanni was the head of Team Rocket, they also had Giovanni as a gym leader here with his Pokemon. So I think that's a pretty cool thing to point out, and if you've collected Destined Rivals recently, you know we have Team Rockets blank, but in this binder you'll see a mix of Giovannis and Rockets. Alright, moving on to page 2, the first holo grand reveal aside from the other page, and we see the rest of the holos in here going all the way up to Sabrina here. So, this Sabrina's Alakazam is important to me because this is a card that my brother pulled, and I always wanted, and he would never trade it to me. And I always have wondered, did he not want to trade it to me because it was a card he really liked, or did he just know I really wanted it, and so therefore it was cool to have to kind of hold over my head. But either way, absolutely love this card. The first holo I pulled from this was Koga's Ditto, and at first I thought it was kind of dumb, but the Giant Growth plus Pound combo is actually a lot of fun in decks. So, I mean, it was at the time when no one was playing anything meta, so that's all good. So I really like this set, and let's just quickly flip through the Unlimiteds here, show off everything. Sabrina's Gengar, absolutely fantastic card, very hard to find. And we keep going. Sabrina's Haunter, also an amazing card, very popular Pokemon. And yeah, I just absolutely love this entire set. Very, very cool stuff here. Magikarp always felt weird to pull, especially in these sets where they would put low stage Pokemon as uncommons and rares. Let me give an example if I can. This Pidgey is an uncommon, but up until this point, everyone who was playing through the games at that age, Pidgey was the most common thing ever. So why is it an uncommon? But that's okay. Moving right along, one of the most popular Psyducks, and a lot of other great art here. Now we're into the trainers. Tons of trainers in this set, and some of the favorite cards that I had trainer-wise came out of here as well. All of these quizzes, for example, you get to choose some aspect about your Pokemon based on which quiz you're playing, quiz your opponent on it. They're almost always going to lose because who knows the length of a Mr. Mime, and then you're going to get to draw some cards or do something special. Very neat. All right, so we are at the end of the Unlimiteds, and we're going to do the first of 2 grand reveals of the first editions. Here is reveal number 1. As you can see, we have the Fire Energy placeholder here for the BLAINE'S Charizard first edition, which we will slide on in there. But you will also see conveniently the 2 cards I pulled out earlier. We are still missing first edition Giovanni's Machamp and first edition Giovanni's Persian. Could just order these online. We don't like to do that. So we've been going to shows now for the past 8 months trying to find LP or better copies of them, and just haven't found any yet. And for both of these cards, it's not that we have found bad copies that we chose not to take, we just have not found them at all at any of the shows in our Bay Area region. So hopefully we can find those soon. However, most of these were found over the last year. So found this Gyarados at the very end of a show. They were trying to make a little bit of money before they packed up for the weekend, and they had this guy sitting there, and so I got to go up and snag a nice deal on an otherwise very fantastic Giovanni's Gyarados first ed. But let's go through one at a time and take a quick look. This BLAINE'S Arcanine first and the BLAINE'S Charizard first came in a deal with the same guy, and so we worked out a nice deal for both of us on that one. But these are absolutely beautiful near mint copies of BLAINE'S Arcanine and BLAINE'S Charizard first edition. Fantastic. My wallet didn't like it, but you know that's how collecting near mint first edition goes. But this Charizard is absolutely incredible. As you can see, it does have the misprint, which is the fighting energy there. Although from this era, it is easier to find the misprint than it is to find the not misprint. So the corrected version of that is actually worth a little bit more than the uncorrected version. And don't quote me on this, I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that since first edition is the first print, it may have only been corrected for the unlimited print. So there may actually not be another first edition specifically corrected BLAINE'S Charizard. But I might be wrong. Alright, moving right along, Brock's Ninetales. Found this at a show maybe 5 or 6 months ago. It's got a neat little swirl right next to its head there. But otherwise, quite a nice card here. This set has both Brock's Ninetales and BLAINE'S Ninetales, so that shows a little bit about how popular this Pokemon was. Alrighty, so Erica's Venusaur here. As I showed you earlier in the video, we cracked out of a slab, and we cracked it out of a 7. And what we like to do is not just crack them out of low rarity slabs, but we also try to look through the slab itself to see what condition it would look like if it were actually in the binder. For example, if this Erica's Venusaur looked awful on the front, but perfect on the back, and that's what got it a 7, we probably wouldn't have taken it. But this Venusaur looks absolutely beautiful on the front, and when I flip it over to the back, you'll see some of why it was given a 7. Absolutely love this art here. And on the back, you can see right in there, there's a little bit, 2 little dots of damage there. But other than that, this card looks quite nice. Tiny bit of whitening on 2 of the corners there on the left side. Gotta get it to focus, but either way, this card looks beautiful, and I think the fact that it was given a 7 is a little bit criminal. Personally, that 1 dot does not make me think it's worth $300 less, but my wallet appreciated accepting that dot. So, there's the Erica Venusaur. I've already went over the Gyarados, so I'll skip over to the Nidoking. This Nidoking is a little bit warpy. You can see a tiny little bit of a warp there, but otherwise this copy is quite nice. A little bit of a swirl there, but nothing too crazy. So these are the kinds of conditions that we look for when we're going to card shows. Anything light play or better, with emphasis on the front, since these are all going to be binder copies, as you see here, just sitting in the binder. We have no intention on grading any of these, but if the money calls to us For example, if we thought this Charizard would 10, we could send it in for a 10, sell it, and then we could take that extra profit to buy a not PSA 10 BLAINE'S Charizard first and buy a bunch of other stuff needed for the collection. So we'll see how those kinds of things go. Next up, Koga's Beedrill. I like this one because it has a swirl right there, here in the corner, and it kind of feels like it's a little bit off, but it could look like the Beedrill just caused that swirl to appear. Kind of neat, but it's not really perfectly in line, just pretty close. All right, so now the second and final grand reveal for the first edition Holos is this page here. So one of the stars of the show, this Rocket's Mewtwo, first Pokemon to ever have 3 attacks in the TCG as far as I know, but otherwise this page is just wonderful. So this card up here is the BLAINE'S Ninetales, and I was just showing you the holo of Brock's Ninetales, but BLAINE'S Ninetales here, it is a non-holo rare that we are missing from this set. So that brings our total to 3 cards missing so far. But before we get all the way into that, let's continue with the holos. Koga's Ditto, I believe I picked this one up from DGen Collectibles here in the Bay Area. They're fantastic guys, and if you're ever in the area, I highly recommend you go check them out. They also sell on TCG Player and whatnot. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, Lieutenant Surge's Raichu. There is a vendor at one of the shows that we go to that we just find something from every single time we see him. Recently, it's been Gen 3 reverses, but this was one of the first cards we ever got from him. This is when we were bringing our trade binder around to trade stuff. Our trade binder is mostly destroyed at this point, but this was one of the cards that we got from him, and fantastic condition. Absolutely love this card. And I will always appreciate Raichu more than I should because he is the big brother of Pikachu, and Pikachu steals the spotlight all the time. But love this card. All right, Misty's Golduck. So before DGen Collectibles was DGen Collectibles, I went to a show in Concord and got this from them as well. And interestingly enough, I've never told them this, but this Misty's Golduck was one of the first edition vintage holos that we started picking up to finish our older sets. And we had some before, but we hadn't started going out of our way to find them. And then when DGen had a binder with this and a few other first edition holos in it, we went to town. So we ended up trading a ton of good stuff to them, and we ended up picking up a lot of these fantastic condition first edition holos. So there's a fun little story behind that guy. Similarly, this Misty's Gyarados, we found this at, I think, HypeCon. I don't remember exactly what show it was, but this was less than a month ago, and we go to so many shows now it's hard to keep track, but this was like last deal of the day. The guy was trying to pack up to head home, and I finally got to his table with how many tables there were in the event, and he had this just kind of sitting there chilling. So I had to make sure we made a deal for it. Him and I couldn't fully agree on price, and so we ended up doing a coin flip. If I lost the coin flip, I only got 20% off market, and if I won the coin flip, I got 30% off market. So, of course, either way, it's a very good deal for me, but he ended up winning the coin flip, so this guy we got for 20% off of market at the time. Absolutely fantastic pickup. One of the most sought after cards in the set. Alrighty, so Rocket's Mewtwo. As you may have been able to tell, not just that it has 3 attacks, but also its Pokemon picture box is smaller than the average card's picture box. So let me pull out this Koga's Muck here. You can see that the height of Koga's Muck's picture box, is quite a bit larger. And so they actually had to make the entire picture here on the first edition Mewtwo smaller, and the Unlimited Mewtwo smaller, to account for the extra attack space. I absolutely love the swirl that's right here, right next to the plasma energy that he's making there. I think this card looks absolutely beautiful. And there's a few little marks in the middle there on the holo, but otherwise this card is truly beautiful. And we picked this up at a show where a father-son duo were vending for one of the first times. They had a bunch of vintage stuff that they were looking to move, and as far as they told me, they hadn't been able to move a lot of vintage yet at the show. And so we were one of their first bigger vintage deals for the day. But how can you pass up on a Mewtwo like this? Very, very nice. I think we also picked up a first edition Rocket's Hitmonchan from them. And from the booth right next to them, we picked up the Unlimited Gym Heroes Rocket's Scyther. So a triple Rocket deal. Very cool. Alrighty. So I'm going a little bit slower through these, but I just have some nice, fun memories to share. this Rocket Zapdos, we saw it at the beginning of a show, and he wanted over market because he thought this was so perfect and worth grading. And of course, when you look at this card, it is fantastic. The holo is very, very clean. There is not too much going on the back in terms of damage. This card is wonderful and may actually be worth grading. But he wanted over market, and I don't like paying over market for anything. So, you know, I do what I normally do and say, you know what, I'm really interested. Will you do this? No, I won't. I want over market, blah, blah, blah. And so I just passed. And then the end of Sunday comes, because it was a 2-day show. I end up swinging by the booth to see if he's changed his mind, and luckily he had. So we ended up getting this for much closer to market than he was hoping for, but I think he was really appreciative of making a deal for it at the end of the day. So I do think this is a grading contender, but we don't really pick up cards with the intent on grading, so we'll see how that goes. Alrighty, Sabrina's Alakazam. Boy, I just have so many stories for all of these. Not only was Sabrina's Alakazam my brother's Pokemon card from back in the day, like I had mentioned earlier, but also there's a vendor who goes to so many of the local shows, and he has a giant 4x4 binder for every generation of Pokemon. And so we were raiding his vintage binders because he just had first edition holos in that binder. It's kind of a gold mine, and we recently took a bunch of Team Rocket Returns reverses from him. But this was one of our first deals with him, was this Sabrina's Alakazam and a few other Skyridge and Aquapolis holos. So very cool to pull these from him. We're now fairly good friends, I'd say, and every time we're at shows, he tells me what new stuff he's got. He's a great guy. So very cool. Absolutely love this. I'm not going to pull out the trainers because as much as I like all the trainers, this video is getting a little bit long, but we will do a quick flip through and see if there's anything past those 3 cards that we're missing. All of these first edition non-holo rares are harder to find because right now people are not opening first edition packs if they're light. If you have a light pack that's going to have one of these guys, it's staying sealed forever because as a sealed light pack, it's worth more than any of the non-holo rares you can get. So finding good condition, non-holo first edition rares from these old sets is quite difficult. On the other hand, people are opening heavy packs from time to time, and so we're slowly refilling the market on these guys, not so much on these guys. All right, next page, we get to the first edition Sabrina's Gengar. This card is absolutely fantastic. This was another end of show purchase where he was in the middle of a deal with someone else, and so I was quickly browsing through a bunch of booths near him, and I saw this guy just chilling right in the middle. So when he was finally done, we were able to pick this up for 90-ish% of market. Pretty good. Pretty good. Alrighty. So, still, we're not missing anything else from here, but we see a 4th card we are missing. This is Koga's Pidgey, the one that I had pointed out earlier about why is a Pidgey an uncommon. Well, here is where that Koga's Pidgey first edition would be if we ever got one. But we didn't yet, so we are still waiting on that guy. That brings our total missing to 4. Alrighty, let's keep on going. Show off all the same cards again, but with the black first edition stamp on it. Very, very nice. Weird how a tiny black stamp is enough to increase the cost of these cards significantly, but that's how it goes. We're back into the quizzes, and still not missing anything. But on this last flip, we are no longer missing this Misty's Tears. Last time I considered doing this for a Wishlist Wednesday, we were missing this, but we have recently picked this up. So I want to pull this one out. I think this card is fantastic. This is the reprinted, acceptable in the US art of Misty's Tears. You guys may know of Naked Misty, where she's holding onto a Staryu. I'm pretty sure that was the original Misty's Tears. They chose not to put it here. But this art, I think, is a fantastic replacement for it. Even though I would have preferred the original art, just because I don't like it when things get censored or changed. If you're going to replace art, replace it with really good art like this one. So I actually was very, very happy to pay the $50 or whatever market was for this guy. Because not only is it very impossible to find, but it's fantastic artwork as well. Alrighty, and so that brings us to the end of Gym Challenge. Missing 4 cards, 2 holos, and a rare and an uncommon. So we're going to be always on the lookout for those. We've been looking for 8 or 9 months now, and we will continue to do so. But this is one of my favorite sets. It's not just the nostalgia factor, even though, of course, that plays a lot into it. But it's also just how really cool and varied the Pokemon are. in the show, all of the gym leaders had a lot more Pokemon than they did in the games. And if you only played the games, Brock is Geodude Onix, and that's it. Or if you played Gen 2, Brock has Golem, Onix, and Rhydon, just like very rocky stuff. You never really see him go out of his way. But then when you get to sets like these, you see he has a Ninetales. And the Brock's Vulpix in the set is actually beautiful. Let me go find that. There's this one here, but the other Brock's Ninetales... This one. Oh, not that one. Where is it? Huh, I don't know where it is. I might be thinking of a Gym Heroes card. But either way, fantastic cards. I absolutely love this set. So, what is your favorite card from this set? And do you have any sets you'd like to see featured in the upcoming videos? Masters at Monday, Wishlist Wednesday, or any ideas for a featured Friday, where it could be anything from every full art trainer ever, every rainbow card, every Arcanine, anything. I'm very open to taking suggestions. Last week's featured Friday was Tomokazu Komiya Artist Spotlight, and I think that video is really fun to watch, and I enjoyed making it, but it's got like 20 views right now, so that's cool. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.